Hey everyone, welcome back. You know who I am. This is Mitch Goldberg. I am your host. You're watching Be the Boss of Your Money. It's important to be the boss of your money because it's very easy for your money to become the boss of you. We don't want that to happen. We've got a bunch of things to talk about, the usual market update, but there are a few things that make today a little different in the market. We're going to get into 6 major ways to burn your money, big money mistakes. These are the ones that I see. Some of these are the ones I see most of the time. Some of these are very popular. Some of these could impact a few of you, not all of you. So by no means will it be an exhaustive list, but some very common ways that you might not be thinking about that you're actually committing in terms of destroying your wealth. So let's just roll the intro and we are going to have a really good show. You're going to want to stick around for this. Here we go. Welcome back. You're watching Be the Boss of Your Money. I am Mitch Goldberg. I am your host, and you, my friends, are welcome to ask me any questions that you may have in the comments. I love answering your questions. I love the back and forth. Your words of encouragement, words of wisdom are also always appreciated. And I know you have a lot of words of wisdom because my audience is smart. A lot of you are very experienced with personal finance. You've grown to love it, to do well with it. So there you go. Let's get on with the show. If you're a viewer of the show consistently, you know we always start with a quick update. More than just an update with perspective so that you can become a better investor and better with your money overall. Today was kind of a negative day. You know, it wasn't, I wouldn't characterize today's down day as a disaster by any stretch, but there were a couple of key disappointments, and there are a few areas that more or less confirm that stocks are probably ahead of themselves. I don't want to come out and say stocks are ahead of themselves because I know somebody will say, you know, in a week, oh, the market went up and you said stocks are ahead of themselves. I guess I could say that stocks are ahead of themselves, and someone will say, oh, you're right, stocks are down. A week later they could be down, and then someone will say, you're right. That's not how I live my life. I'm not living my life based on market calls from day to day, week to week. It's not how my clients live their lives. We invest, we contribute consistently, we grow our wealth, we have good financial habits. Personal finance is the name of the game. Personal finance is going to be way more important over time than what the stock market did any month, quarter, year, or even, believe it or not, even a decade. So let's just take a look. Okay, the Dow off 200 points, you know, less than 1%. 200 points years ago is a big deal. Today it's just another day, brother. S&P off 20 points, NASDAQ off 1.27%, Russell 2000 is off 1%, and the VIX climbing over 25. The magic number for the VIX, I've been talking about this a lot, was 30. The VIX typically goes up when the market goes down. The VIX it's a measure of it's a measure of the desire of professional money managers to hedge their market bets. So if you see the VIX go up, it means large investors are paying more money to hedge their portfolios. It's just an indication of worry. If you want to hedge your portfolio and now the cost to hedge your portfolio has gone up and you still want to go through with it, it means you're kind of worried about the market. This is just something that fluctuates on a day-to-day basis, by the way. So we can't infer anything. I don't think long-term by any of this for one day. But there are a couple of things that I do see happening, and I follow this every day. So it's not like today is a whole new trend. I look at this every day, and I'm going to share the tea leaves with you. Russell 2000 is off 1%. That's basically an indication that investors are worried about the U.S. economy. And that's because the Russell 2000 is smaller companies, many of which you might not have even heard of. So if it's smaller companies that are down, and smaller companies are typically more domestic oriented, they are less international oriented, as opposed to the S&P 500, where nearly half of S&P 500 profits and revenue come from overseas. So the S&P is really a very global index. NASDAQ has the big tech stocks. We're going to go over that real quick. Let's just take a look and see what's happening with the big movers after market. Starbucks came out with earnings. Investors are pleased. The stock is up over 3%. Visa, I don't know if Visa came out with earnings or not, but the stock is off 279. Advanced Micro Devices came out with earnings as high as earnings expectations are. They blew it out, up $6. Mondelez kind of flat. So not a whole heck of a lot of action taking place in aftermarket trading. The two big movers of the day, the disappointments. This is what I meant when I said disappointments. You see here, McDonald's was down over $5 during the regular session. And then you see over here, 3M was down almost $8. These are big Dow components, big S&P stocks. So when these companies have earnings, they could move the market. And these two companies are in the Dow Jones. That's one of the reasons why the market was down today. They both missed on earnings, missed on revenues, and just, things are not good with 3M. I was hoping that 3M could maybe pull it out with air filters or something, because everyone has to have these, better air filters to help filter out the COVID germs in the air and the particles we breathe out, out of our respiratory system. So unfortunately, it didn't work out, and 3M had a really bad day. 3M has been in like a negative role for 2 years now. McDonald's had been doing well, but it just wasn't enough. The problem also with a lot of these 3M's not totally consumer, but McDonald's is the $600 per week federal unemployment assistance ends this week. The last checks already went out, actually. And that's one of the reasons why people haven't really felt the full brunt of what it's like to be in a really bad recession with double-digit unemployment, because at least people had money to spend, and they were doing it. Retail sales have been blowing it out. Retail sales have been very strong, and nobody's been getting kicked out of their homes or their apartments because there was a moratorium on that. We'll see how it goes with Congress, if that'll continue. There's a hang up right now. The Republican Senate will not give in whatsoever on legal, professional, corporate liability, and unless it's under really like a negligent problem. The Republican-controlled House is saying, we have to worry about providing food on the table and shelter and clothing for people, and let's just work on this first. So it's getting cantankerous. This usually goes down to the last minute, these kind of things. We've seen so many different kinds of cliffs. This is called the, I guess it's the unemployment assistance cliff and the housing cliff, etc. We've had so many cliffs over the last 10, 12 years. Hopefully they'll get something straightened out over the next week. I'm sure they will. Okay, let's just take a look here. Today we had some good play in the reopening stock. So Norwegian, Public Storage, Carnival Cruise, Vornado Realty, Wynn Resorts, Kimco. Still a negative day, but there were some of the airlines were up today, so it was kind of a decent day for the reopening, but it wasn't enough to carry the rest of the market. It's, let's separate the small reopening stocks to the overall industrial economy. The reopening is pretty small. Okay. Fangam, you want to see why the NASDAQ was down more than the other major averages? This is why. Facebook down 1.5%, Apple down 1.6%, Amazon down, Netflix down, Google down, Microsoft down. These are the big six. These account for almost 30% of the S&P 500. So, these are like the black hole. When they go up, they suck everything up. And when it goes down, when these go down, they suck everything down. It's just like I don't know, a whirlpool, flushing toilet when they go down. Whoosh, I can't think of anything right now. Okay. So anyway, that's the problem. When these FANG stocks take a hit, it pulls everything with them. And we've been talking about the here and Be the boss of your money, that these stocks are extended up too much. Don't be afraid to take some profits, rebalancing. These are the things that I've been doing with my clientele, as my clients already know. Everyone has been carried by these stocks. Every money manager, institutional money manager, retail investor, everyone's been relying on these same stocks. And the thinking goes, it's a little too much. They account for way too big a portion of the stock market. And if these get hurt, it could take everything down with them. And as we get closer to a COVID vaccine in a strange, perverse way, it removes the impetus to pay up for these stocks. These stocks have so many years of growth factored into their current prices right now. So believe it or not, a COVID vaccine, and it looks like we're getting very close to that, could be a negative for the overall stock market because of these 6 stocks going down. And let's just take a look at this is my last storyboard here that I want to go over, my last screen. This to me is a great dashboard to tell you where the market is. REITs were the top performer, then utilities, and then staples. It's like the worst 3 sectors that could be up are these 3 sectors, because when these 3 sectors go up, it's partly an interest rate play, that interest rates are continuing to trend lower because of economic weakness. And it just basically says there's no confidence in the economy. Again, this is just one day, but the trend is there, and these sectors have been continuously doing pretty well. Industrials were poor performers, energy, financials, just about flat. But overall, it's hard for industrials to go up when a stock like 3M drops so much. So that's that. So that's the issue for today. We're going to stop sharing the screen. So I want to talk to you about a couple of big money mistakes. This is important to talk about because you may be making these mistakes, and it's tough to say. Okay, so the wire for my mic is over here. If it gets stuck in my chair one more time, I might actually just rip it right out of the computer. Okay. So anyway, let's get into this. There are a couple of mistakes that are very common, and it's tough to say what your financial sophistication is, because we have a bunch of people watching this from different walks of life and different stages of life. So I'm going to go through the key ones, and anyone could be making these money mistakes. You see the money burning behind me. Okay. So the first one is lifestyle creep. What that means is, as you make money, you raise your standard of living. So you make some more money, you get a new car, nicer car, you live in a better apartment, you wear nicer clothing. Your clothing, by the way, is nicer, so you need to take care of it better. So now you have a higher dry cleaning bill. You see how this happens? You have a nicer car, so you have to pay more auto insurance, higher insurance for that. Maybe you have to get a place with a garage now, and then your lifestyle keeps going up, and now you've got your Netflix, and you've got your Hulu, and all of your other subscription services, and your Apple Pay, and whatever else is going on, and all of a sudden, it's like, congratulations, you're finally making over $100,000 a year, and it's still not enough for you to live other than hand to mouth, and it's not enough for you to save a penny. So you make a little bit more money, but the problem is, the more money you make, the more your lifestyle grows. And so that's called lifestyle creep. And not to mention that a lot of things in your life have inflation, and they're going up quicker than the rate of your income. So number one, and this is the most common one I see for people of all stripes, is lifestyle creep. It gets to a point where we have to say, I'm spending enough on what I want, what I need, and the extra money needs to be saved. It needs not to be spent. Which leads me into the next one, is not saving first. So if you're making money, you have a job, if you're saving your money first and then spending what's left over, you have much higher odds of succeeding in preparing for retirement and saving money and investing than if you just spend your money first and try to save what's left. Because if you do that, you're really just relying on willpower and so many things that are out of your control. And then if you took away the money first, you wouldn't even miss it. You would get used to not having that extra money. They'll go right into your SEP IRA or your 401k plan or whatever you're doing. Okay. By the way, if you're watching this in the live stream, I want to welcome you. I'm going to be looking for your questions in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching this in the replay, I'd like to welcome you as well. Certainly ask any questions you may have. I'll see those in the replay as well, and I'll get back to you. I love that interaction. It is my favorite part of doing this. So the key is save first, then spend. There's an expression for that. It's called pay yourself first. That expression means it doesn't mean, well, I'll get a paycheck and I'll pay myself first and I'll put the money in the bank and then spend it. No. Pay yourself first means saving first, investing first. And once that money is gone out of the way, and you want to automate that, because if it's automated, it'll happen. If you say, well, I'm not going to automate it because I'll just do it when I have a chance to do it next month. This month isn't good. And then the following month isn't good. It just becomes endless procrastination and you never do it. 10, 20 years go by and you're like, wow, I can't believe I could have saved so much more money and invested so much more money. So that is the other thing. So the next thing is, and this is going to, this could piss a few people off. It really could. But one of the destroyers of wealth is lending to a friend. Lending to a friend is okay. Listen, I happen to have some friends who lend money back and forth for different business ventures and all that, but they do it with a level of integrity and sophistication. Not to say that you and your friends don't have integrity. What I'm saying is they put it in writing. It's part of a business plan. It's not like lending somebody a little bit of money. I have seen friends who, lose money lending to friends for some business venture. Good luck getting that money back. Usually it doesn't happen. So that's something I want to put out there. It's one thing to help somebody out, which you're probably just giving that money away, but you're doing it out of the goodness of your own heart. You understand that going into it. So that's okay. What I'm talking about is when you start, and I don't want to say like you should do business with friends. I have a lot of friends who are my clients. I have a lot of clients who have become some of my closest friends, and vice versa. And it just works out that way. And I love it that way. That's the whole point of relationships, right? Of relationship businesses, relationship marketing, etc. But, and trust. But what I'm saying is this, when you lend money to a friend, you really have to make sure that there's a solid chance of that money coming back to you. And you need to get things in writing. And if it's a substantial amount of money, I highly advise getting a lawyer involved to do that. I've just seen so many people get burned lending a lot of money to friends for some business venture or something that fails, and it becomes a problem, which leads me to the next thing is co-signing loans. This is pretty popular, even amongst financially sophisticated people, wealthy people. People co-sign loans, and the problem with co-signing a loan is multiple. First of all, if you co-sign a loan, you do understand that you are on the hook for that money as if you took the loan. And you can't just say to the other person who you co-sign for and say, well, you have to pay the loan back. You can't force them to pay the loan back. You're responsible if the other person doesn't pay. The responsibility transfers to you. It could also hurt your credit score because now when you apply for a loan, it looks like you've taken out more credit than you otherwise would have. So that could hurt your own ability to borrow, let's say for a mortgage or that dream house you wanted or something. And then it could also lower your credit score because your credit utilization could be higher because of that. So there's really almost no upside to co-sign a loan unless it's, it's something you do for a family member, your children or something, but it's really not something that I advise. You don't want to be on the hook for someone else's loan. Simple as that. Okay. The next thing is too conservative. Investors I have seen in my career of 30 years plus have lost more money from being too conservative with their investments than from being too aggressive. And that sounds kind of funny because, well, yeah, but people could lose money being too aggressive. But if you're too conservative, you really don't lose money that way. Well, first of all, if you're too conservative, I'm not talking about volatility, like the price or the price of your stocks, for example, going up and down. if you're too conservative over the long term, you're losing money to inflation. Inflation is like the silent killer of money. You don't really notice it at first, but you only notice it at over time after it's already done substantial damage to your money. So that's the thing with being too conservative. The real problem with being too conservative is I see most investors become too conservative after they were too aggressive. They suffer a loss. They pull back in their horns, and they say, I'm going all conservative, not taking any risk or very little risk. And when you're talking about a 20, 30-year time horizon, listen, even if you're retired, you're still talking about a decade or more of time, hopefully, right? So the issue is that if you're too conservative over time, that's going to bite you in the butt more than being too aggressive. And it just, again, people seem to go from aggressive to conservative at the worst time. This is why it's important to have an asset allocation, an investment plan that you could stick with, where you are already not too aggressive or not too conservative, where you have the right balance between aggressive and conservative that's based on your own personal time horizon, risk tolerance, and financial goals. And then I'm going to go to one more, okay? And this is another one. And some people can't help it. Most people in my world are okay with this, but the biggest cause of bankruptcy is healthcare bills, unpaid healthcare bills. So the another big destroyer, and I think this is actually a bigger destroyer for young people, because the young people might not need insurance, or they don't need comprehensive insurance. They think they don't need comprehensive insurance because you're healthy and you're young, but all it takes is to go skiing with your friends one time, jumping into a choose up softball game or something. You break an ankle, you twist an ankle, you wipe out skiing, you hurt your shoulder, whatever it is. It just takes, you're literally one injury away from blowing through all of your savings, because medical expenses cost a lot of money. You go through the x-rays, the orthopedic, maybe some surgery. It costs a lot of money. You need to have health insurance. And I know it could cost money and you might not need it, but it literally just takes one illness or one injury. And before you know it, you'll be thinking, I wish I had health insurance, and I wish I had the peace of mind from having health insurance. So those are the big money mistakes that I want to convey to you. This is not any means an exhaustive list of money mistakes, but these are ones that are all well within your control, and you could do something about these. And if you can just do something about about these money mistakes, you would set yourself so far ahead in terms of your personal finance and meeting your financial goals. So let's just see who's out there. Okay. Hey, Jay, how are you? Great to see you. Jerry, thank you. Steve, always great to see you. Natalie, thank you. Great to see you. You're finally watching one of my shows live. That's great. Judy, love you. And Judy's my wife, by the way, so I can say that on air. And we have a couple of comments out there. Jerry says, hi, Mitch. Hi, Jerry. Love you, brother. Phil. Hey, Mitch. Hey, Phil. Love you, brother. Good to see you. And thank you very much for being out there. And that's about it. I'm going to wrap this up. If you have any questions, again, let me know in the comments, even after this. If you have a particular subject, a particular topic that you want me to cover, let me know. I'll do the homework. I'll do the research, and I'll present it to you. I would love to do that. All right. I will end this broadcast, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.